Before we dive into this galactic survival saga, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment with what you think will happen next, and subscribe for more edge-of-your-seat sci-fi stories. Your support helps us keep these stories alive across the stars, so don't miss out. Now let's jump into the story. Lieutenant Aaron Cade crouched among the jagged undergrowth, his pulse steady despite the alien silence pressing against him like a physical weight. The faint hum of distant patrol drones and the rustle of unfamiliar foliage reminded him that the frontier planet was not forgiving to those who underestimated it. Every step, every breath was a calculation. Survival depended on precision, instinct, and an unshakable awareness of danger. The human had been trained for hostile environments, but nothing in the academy had prepared him for the raw, predatory intelligence lurking beyond the shadows of this forest. He adjusted his weapon, the cold metal reassuring against his gloved hands, and scanned the terrain for movement. Light from the planet's twin moons painted everything in shifting shades of blue and silver, illuminating the gnarled roots and crystalline outcroppings in deceptive patterns. Aaron had learned quickly that the environment itself was a predator in disguise. A misstep could mean being impaled on jagged stone, swallowed by a crevasse, or caught in the talons of one of the planet's hunting beasts. He exhaled slowly, forcing his mind to focus on the objective: reconnaissance, intel gathering, and staying alive long enough to return home. The first signs of alien activity came as subtle vibrations in the ground, followed by the faint metallic echoes of armored boots striking stone. Aaron froze, sinking lower into the undergrowth, and counted 5 approaching figures. The patrols were confident, their gait casual, their attention fragmented. They believed him alone and vulnerable, a lone human stranded far from reinforcements. Their arrogance would be their mistake. He could feel it in the back of his mind, a hum of anticipation as he weighed the options: engage, evade, or wait. The choice was always about control, about setting the terms of survival on his own soil. Aaron's thoughts drifted briefly to why he had come here. The mission was straightforward: observe, report, avoid confrontation, but simple assignments were rarely that simple on the frontier. He remembered the orders, crisp and impersonal: human assets may not survive. Prioritize intel. Survival was secondary, or so the galaxy's military hierarchy claimed. The irony was not lost on him. Human adaptability had always been underestimated, but he knew that every decision, every instinct honed over decades of training, was about proving them wrong. As the patrol drew closer, Aaron caught a flicker of movement beyond the perimeter, a shadow that did not belong to the aliens. Something immense and deliberate watching him, its presence almost too quiet to register. He held his breath and studied the motion. There was no hissing, no growl, no shimmer of scales reflecting moonlight. Yet the awareness of being observed sank deep, primal and undeniable. The planet had predators, yes, but this was something else. An apex presence, intelligent, calculating, and unbound by fear. Aaron's pulse quickened, not from panic, but from recognition. Some instincts were universal, and survival sometimes meant acknowledging the hunter that outmatched everything else around it. He shifted slightly, testing the reaction, and the shadow moved in concert, not as prey but as an equal, waiting for a signal he did not yet understand. Aaron felt a mixture of exhilaration and caution. Alone he might have been vulnerable, but in the presence of this unseen force, he realized his chances were far better than the patrols believed. His mind raced through tactical possibilities. Could he draw the aliens into an ambush, exploit terrain, manipulate perception? Every scenario involved careful timing, and every movement required synchrony with something he could not yet name. The patrols began to fan out, their confidence spilling into careless chatter, snippets of language that Aaron did not need to understand to know they were underestimating him. He noted the leader, distinguishable by a glowing insignia on his armor, moving ahead of the others, scanning the forest. Aaron waited, counting heartbeats, analyzing angles and preparing to act, but he did not act yet. Patience had saved him before, and patience required understanding the ecosystem of fear, instinct, and precision he now occupied. A faint crack of a branch underfoot drew his attention, and he froze. The shadow shifted in response, moving closer without breaking cover, silent, deliberate, waiting. It was a presence that could annihilate the patrols without effort, yet it did nothing. Aaron realized that the predator had made a choice, had seen something in him that warranted observation rather than attack. Trust, in its rawest and most unspoken form, had begun to form in the alien wilderness. He allowed himself a measured breath, steadying his hands, letting the alien confidence wash over him like an extension of his own survival instinct. The patrols were oblivious, laughing at the idea of a lone human holding his own. But Aaron knew the truth. He was not alone, and the apex presence behind him was a force the universe had only whispered about. Soon the balance would shift and the hunters would become the hunted. The patrol passed, unaware of the silent shadow that mirrored Aaron's movements, ready to intervene. When they disappeared into the deeper forest, leaving the humans seemingly unscathed, Aaron exhaled slowly, scanning the treeline. The apex presence remained just out of sight, an unspoken guardian. A faint rumble in the distance hinted at the raw power that had chosen to wait, to observe, to recognize the human's worth. Aaron allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. Alone he might have been prey. But alone was a lie. The predator waited, and together they might turn the tide of what the galaxy assumed about human vulnerability. The forest held its breath with him, and in that silence, the first seeds of an alliance took root. Aaron moved cautiously through the phosphorescent undergrowth, every step calculated to avoid the alien patrols he had just evaded. The forest was alive in ways he still did not fully understand. Bioluminescent spores drifted lazily through the air, illuminating the massive roots and twisted vines in ghostly shades, and distant calls of unseen creatures echoed across the canyon terrain. His hand hovered near the trigger of his rifle, but his attention was divided. Somewhere nearby, the presence that had watched him before lingered, intelligent, patient, and unervingly deliberate. The first real sign of it came in motion, subtle yet undeniable. A shadow larger than any known predator in the region glided silently between the trees, its form fluid, each movement precise. Aaron froze, heart steady but senses alert. Unlike the alien patrols, this creature did not radiate hostility. Instead, it seemed to study him, assessing whether he was a threat or an ally. The apex presence that had remained a whisper in the dark now became tangible. A predator of mythic proportions, scaled and muscled, eyes glowing faintly with a cunning that spoke of intelligence rather than instinct alone. Aaron's first instinct was caution. He had faced death countless times, but nothing in training prepared him for an apex predator that could reduce him to ash before he could react. Yet, as he watched it circle with silent deliberation, he realized there was restraint, an awareness that he was not prey. He held his rifle loosely, lowering it slightly, signaling neither aggression nor fear. The predator's movements mirrored his own careful calculations, waiting for a gesture, a choice, a signal of intent. Minutes stretched like hours. Aaron's mind raced, recalling survival drills, predator behavior, and instinctive observation. He had read about apex predators on other worlds, creatures that recognized strength, intelligence, and the spark of courage in others. What he saw now confirmed every hypothesis he had encountered in theory. This being was evaluating him, testing his patience, and acknowledging a kindred strategic mind. He realized with a strange clarity that he was not alone, and that this creature's patience was a gift as rare as it was dangerous. The alien patrol's chatter had long since faded, leaving only the quiet symphony of the forest and the predator's deliberate presence. Aaron slowly crouched lower, shifting his weight, making his movements deliberate but non-threatening. The predator responded with a cautious step forward, a subtle alignment that mirrored his own posture. Recognition passed silently between them, an understanding that survival could mean partnership rather than confrontation. He allowed himself a flicker of cautious curiosity, watching as the creature's eyes, reflective and calculating, met his own. Then the forest erupted with sudden violence. A smaller, more aggressive predator, a hunting pack native to the forest, charged from the shadows, teeth glinting under the bioluminescent light. Aaron reacted instinctively, firing controlled bursts into the oncoming creature. The pack member faltered but was not subdued, circling with predatory cunning. Before Aaron could reposition, the larger apex predator lunged, its immense frame moving with terrifying grace. In a blur of muscle and motion, it intercepted the attack, tearing the smaller predator apart with precision and efficiency. Aaron's breath caught in a mixture of awe and relief. The apex had acted not out of territorial instinct alone but with deliberation, saving him without hesitation. He realized that the creature's patience had not been idle, it had been evaluating, ensuring that he could survive the immediate threat and possibly more. Aaron exhaled slowly, his mind racing with the implications. Survival on this planet was no longer solely his own skill. He had an ally of unimaginable power, one that could shift the balance of any confrontation. He lowered his rifle fully, stepping cautiously closer to the apex predator, studying its form. The creature's body was a marvel of evolution. Sinewy muscle, armored scales, claws capable of rending metal, and eyes that reflected an intelligence almost human in quality. It paused, head tilting as though measuring Aaron's intent. In that moment, he understood that their interaction was not merely survival. It was an unspoken negotiation of trust, a mutual acknowledgement of each other's strengths. Aaron whispered, almost unconsciously, "Kale?" The name felt right, resonant in the silent forest. The predator's ears flicked, but it did not retreat or attack. Instead, it allowed him a measured step closer, maintaining distance but permitting presence. A bond, fragile but undeniable, began to form. Aaron realized that he now had not only a chance to survive the forest and the alien patrols but also the potential to wield a force that no other human had encountered. Their tentative alliance was tested immediately as the alien patrols returned, their movements more cautious now, scanning the area for signs of the human survivor. Aaron and Kale watched in silent coordination, an instinctive synchronization forming between them. He led the patrol toward narrow passes and tangled roots, where Kale could intervene without revealing its full strength. The aliens advanced, unaware that the hunter they believed absent was waiting silently, and that the human they considered weak had gained a partner whose strength eclipsed anything they had faced. When the patrol finally passed, leaving only echoes of their confidence behind, Aaron turned to Kale, nodding once. The predator's response was subtle, a tilt of the head, a ripple of muscle, enough to confirm understanding without words. In that brief acknowledgement, Aaron recognized the first real change in his situation. He was no longer alone, and together they could face threats that had once seemed insurmountable. The forest seemed to exhale around them, a quiet moment of balance between man and apex predator, fragile yet unbreakable. Aaron allowed himself a small, grim smile. He had survived because of skill and instinct, yes, but the bond forming now offered possibilities beyond mere survival. He was no longer just a human in a hostile galaxy. He was a strategist, a partner to a force the universe feared, ready to confront the challenges that lay ahead. And as the forest whispered with the movements of unseen creatures, Aaron knew that the real test, the one that would define him and Kale, was only beginning. Aaron crouched behind a jagged rock formation, listening as the patrols approached again, their metallic boots crunching over the uneven terrain. He had spent hours mapping their likely routes, anticipating every step, every gap in their formation. Beside him, Kale waited, coiled and silent, the faint glow of his eyes reflecting the bioluminescent fungi scattered across the forest floor. They did not need words. The understanding between man and apex predator had become instinctual, a shared language of movement, timing, and lethal intent. The first patrol rounded a bend, scanning the trees, unaware that a larger, unseen predator watched them with patient calculation. Aaron signaled subtly with a hand gesture he had developed, a simple tilt of the wrist that Kale immediately understood. The predator shifted its massive frame, muscles rippling as it positioned itself above the patrol, a living shadow waiting to strike. Aaron exhaled slowly, steadying his rifle, knowing that the combination of human strategy and Kale's raw power could turn the tide in seconds. The first patrol member moved carelessly, stepping over exposed roots, eyes scanning the canopy. Kale's claws scraped silently against stone, a warning whispered through the forest. Aaron flicked his gaze toward the alien, timing his shot to coincide with Kale's leap. The predator struck first, descending like a living avalanche, jaws clamping down on the alien's armored shoulder. Aaron fired, the shot precise and lethal, hitting the second patrol member as he dove for cover. Chaos erupted among the remaining soldiers, but Aaron and Kale moved as one, fluid and relentless. Aaron's mind raced, calculating trajectories, predicting reactions and adjusting tactics on the fly. He had always been a soldier, but this was different. This was improvisation at the highest stakes, a dance of survival with an apex predator who seemed to anticipate every move. Kale circled, cutting off retreat paths, striking with surgical precision, leaving the patrol disoriented and terrified. Aaron felt a rush of exhilaration, not from violence, but from the seamless coordination, the way their instincts intertwined, human intelligence and primal power converging into a force the patrols could neither comprehend nor withstand. The alien leader, a taller figure adorned with insignia marking command, barked orders that were already irrelevant. Aaron targeted weak points he had identified earlier: joint plates, gaps in armor, exposed heads. Each shot was calculated, a testament to the human mind's adaptability in crisis. Kale intercepted anyone attempting to flee, moving with terrifying grace, each strike measured and efficient. Within moments, the patrol had been neutralized, leaving only the echo of panic and the acrid scent of burned bioluminescent flora. Aaron lowered his rifle briefly, observing Kale as the predator's breathing slowed, muscles relaxing but eyes still alert. The forest seemed to acknowledge their presence, the subtle shifts of wind and light marking the boundary of human and apex predator territory. Aaron realized that he had not only survived another encounter but had solidified a partnership that could challenge the assumptions of the galaxy. Humans were adaptable, resourceful, and relentless, and now they were accompanied by a creature that no other species could command. The patrol's remnants, scattered and terrified, had left behind valuable intel. Data chips, weapon schematics, and strategic maps indicating larger movements within the sector. Aaron retrieved them carefully, scanning the area for threats as Kale patrolled silently along the perimeter. The predator's presence was both shield and warning. Any other creature or soldier would think twice before approaching, understanding instinctively that they were outmatched. Aaron felt a surge of respect for Kale's intelligence. This was not a beast acting on instinct alone but a sentient entity capable of judgment, choice, and alliance. As Aaron examined the data, a flicker of movement caught his eye. Another patrol, larger this time, was moving along a parallel route, unaware of the trap that awaited them. He gestured subtly to Kale, signaling the next phase of their plan. This was no longer mere survival, it was strategy, dominance, and the beginning of turning the hunter into a hunter in his own right. Together they could dictate the battlefield, reshape assumptions, and survive against odds that would crush any other human, or alien, mind. Aaron felt the familiar rush of adrenaline and clarity. The forest was no longer just an environment, it was a weapon in their hands. Terrain, shadows, sound, all became tools in the orchestration of their campaign. He and Kale were a symbiotic force, predator and strategist intertwined. Every movement had meaning, every strike served the mission, and every decision highlighted the unique adaptability of humanity when paired with instinctual perfection. The larger patrol entered the clearing, confident and unaware. Aaron and Kale held position, silent as the tension thickened. The humans might have been alone, the galaxy might have assumed they were weak, but together, man and apex predator were a force beyond comprehension. Aaron's finger hovered near the trigger, Kale's body coiled like a living spring. The first move of this next encounter would set the tone for what was to come, a demonstration of precision, intelligence, and raw power working in harmony. As the patrol advanced into the kill zone, Aaron's mind was clear, focused on timing, prediction, and opportunity. Kale mirrored his intent, muscles tensed and ready to strike at the precise moment. For a brief heartbeat, the forest seemed to hold its breath alongside them, the calm before the storm. Aaron realized that every danger he had faced, every hostile environment he had conquered, had prepared him for this moment. Survival was no longer enough. Now it was about mastery, about proving that humans were not merely prey but strategic apex forces in a galaxy that had underestimated them. The first alien crossed the threshold of their trap. Aaron exhaled slowly, signaling with his eyes. Kale leapt. The forest erupted in motion and fury, and the balance of power shifted irreversibly. Aaron moved through the thick forest, Kale's massive shadow sliding silently beside him. The adrenaline from their earlier ambush still thrummed in his veins, but a new tension had begun to settle over the landscape. Something was wrong. Small signs, disturbed foliage, oddly placed footprints, and the faint smell of synthetic oil hinted at an intelligence working against him that was not alien in origin. Aaron's instincts, honed through years of combat and survival, screamed betrayal. He had trusted that the frontier was his only adversary, but now he realized the danger extended further. A human collaborator, someone who had conspired with the alien warlord to exploit the planet's resources, was moving within the same forest, manipulating patrols and leaving traps in their wake. The idea that another human could betray him filled him with a mix of fury and disbelief. Kale sensed it too, muscles tensing, ears flicking toward distant sounds that Aaron could not yet hear. The predator's awareness mirrored his own, a shared vigilance that had become almost instinctual. Aaron crouched behind a boulder, scanning the terrain with precision. The collaborator's signature movements were subtle but unmistakable, calculated, confident, and designed to lure prey into ambushes. Aaron calculated the odds. Alone he would be vulnerable, with Kale he had a chance to turn the tables. They had survived alien forces by relying on instinct, strategy, and each other. Now human cunning faced human treachery, and Aaron understood that this test would demand everything he had learned about trust, perception, and decisive action. The trap revealed itself gradually. Tripwires strung across narrow passes, pressure plates buried beneath moss, and strategically placed patrols all indicated a mind thinking ahead, anticipating reactions. Aaron signaled Kale with a subtle tilt of the hand. The predator's response was immediate, a low growl vibrating through the ground, muscles coiling like steel springs. Aaron began maneuvering, drawing the alien patrols deeper into areas where Kale could strike unseen. Every step was deliberate, every pause calculated. The forest became a stage for their coordinated strategy, each movement choreographed by survival instincts sharpened over years of combat. The first patrol approached, confident and unaware. Aaron fired with precision, taking down the lead soldier before the others could react. Kale struck simultaneously, silencing any who attempted to flee or regroup. The collaborator had planned for distraction, but he had not accounted for the synergy between human intelligence and apex power. Aaron moved methodically, observing the landscape for signs of additional threats, while Kale's presence ensured that no enemy could approach unnoticed. Each action revealed a growing trust between the two allies, their communication unspoken yet absolute. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the trees, the collaborator, smug and calculating, wielding a weapon Aaron recognized from stolen tech. His eyes met Aaron's, and the betrayal crystallized in that instant. The human who should have been an ally was the architect of their peril. Aaron did not hesitate. He drew Kale's attention with a controlled gesture, signaling the predator to flank and contain. The collaborator reacted with a flicker of awareness, but it was too late. Kale moved like a living shadow, cutting off escape routes with terrifying speed, while Aaron advanced strategically, exploiting weaknesses in the terrain and the opponent's assumptions. The confrontation was tense and precise. Aaron engaged the collaborator with calculated movements, forcing him into exposed positions where Kale could dominate. The predator's strikes were controlled yet devastating, leaving no room for error. Aaron felt a grim satisfaction, not from violence but from the validation of his strategy, the confirmation that human ingenuity paired with apex instinct could overcome even the most cunning adversaries. The collaborator struggled, attempting deception and misdirection, but every action had been anticipated. In the aftermath, as the collaborator fled into the shadows, Aaron took a moment to survey the scene. Kale stood beside him, massive form coiled, eyes scanning the forest for lingering threats. The patrols had been neutralized, the trap dismantled, and the betrayal countered. Yet Aaron understood that this victory was temporary. The galaxy was vast, and forces far larger and more ruthless would inevitably challenge him again. He also realized something more profound. The bond he shared with Kale had deepened beyond mere survival. Together, they were a force that could anticipate, adapt, and dominate in ways the universe had not predicted. Aaron exhaled slowly, allowing the forest's ambient sounds to wash over him. He knew the path forward would be perilous, demanding every ounce of strategy, patience, and courage. But he also knew that he was no longer alone. Kale had chosen him, recognized his worth, and together they had transformed what might have been a simple struggle for survival into a demonstration of unparalleled synergy. The predator's awareness complemented his own, and their combined instincts created a force that even seasoned alien forces would hesitate to challenge. As dusk fell and the forest shadows deepened, Aaron adjusted his gear and considered their next moves. Every decision from this point forward would carry weight, every step could shift the balance between survival and annihilation. Yet there was a certainty that steadied him. With Kale at his side, he was no longer merely human fighting against the odds. He was a strategist allied with a predator of legendary renown, capable of turning any ambush, any assault, into an opportunity for dominance. The forest around them was silent, but Aaron sensed the tension in the air, the anticipation of challenges yet to come. He gave Kale a nod, and the predator responded with a subtle rumble, eyes locking on his in mutual acknowledgement. The alliance they had forged in battle, strengthened by the sting of betrayal and the triumph of skill, had become unbreakable. Aaron understood the truth of their situation. The galaxy would continue to underestimate humanity, but those who did so would face consequences beyond comprehension. They were prepared for what lay ahead, and the predator waited with him, not as a tool, but as a partner, patient and calculated, ready for the trials the future would inevitably bring. Aaron and Kale moved forward into the deepening forest, a human and an apex predator bound by trust, strategy, and mutual recognition. The challenges ahead would test them further, but together they had proven one undeniable fact. Human intelligence, adaptability, and courage, when paired with raw, predatory power, could redefine the limits of survival and domination, in a galaxy that believed humans were fragile. The real trials had only begun, and both knew that the coming encounters would demand every skill, every instinct, and every ounce of their combined strength. Aaron crouched at the edge of the cliffside, the wind whipping across his face, carrying the acrid scent of scorched earth and alien machinery. The assault had begun in earnest. Hundreds of armored soldiers, the remnants of the warlord's forces, poured into the valley below, their confidence apparent in every formation and every synchronized step. They believed themselves invincible, that no human could withstand such overwhelming numbers. Aaron smiled grimly. They had underestimated him before, and they would learn again the cost of that mistake. Kale shifted beside him, massive and coiled, eyes scanning the valley with predatory precision. Every muscle in his frame radiated tension, ready to release devastating force. Unlike any other creature Aaron had faced, Kale combined instinct with intelligence, each movement deliberate, each strike calculated. In the predator's gaze, Aaron saw recognition, respect, and an almost human awareness of the stakes ahead. This was not simply survival, it was the assertion of dominance, a lesson in the potential of human and apex predator alliance that the galaxy had yet to comprehend. Aaron reviewed the battlefield in his mind, plotting paths, ambush points, and fallback zones. Every detail mattered: the slope of the terrain, the lines of sight, the natural choke points where the aliens' numbers could be neutralized. He flicked his hand slightly, signaling Kale, who responded instantly, moving to the first kill zone like a shadow born of lightning. The predator's presence alone caused the alien soldiers to hesitate, a subconscious acknowledgement of danger they could not fully quantify. The first wave advanced, their formation tight, disciplined, and deadly in appearance. Aaron fired with precision, picking out vulnerable points in armor and infrastructure, disrupting their momentum. Kale leapt, striking like a living battering ram, ripping through armored units with terrifying efficiency. The sounds of battle were chaotic, a cacophony of gunfire, alien cries, and Kale's guttural roars echoing across the valley. Yet within the chaos, Aaron remained focused, coordinating movements and anticipating enemy reactions. Every action was intentional, a testament to human adaptability and strategic brilliance honed under extreme conditions. As the aliens regrouped, Aaron noticed a massive transport vehicle attempting to flank them from the opposite ridge. He cursed under his breath, calculating the risk and opportunity simultaneously. Kale's eyes flicked to the vehicle, sensing the threat even before it fully manifested. Without hesitation, Aaron signaled, and the predator responded, bounding across uneven ground with terrifying agility. In seconds, Kale had neutralized the vehicle's guards, collapsing its front while Aaron picked off operators with calculated shots. The flanking maneuver had failed before it began, and the aliens' confidence faltered visibly. Aaron's mind raced, adrenaline sharpening clarity rather than clouding it. He realized the true advantage they possessed: coordination, strategy, and a bond forged in trust and survival. Kale was more than a weapon. He was a partner, a sentinel whose instincts complemented Aaron's intellect. Together, they transformed the battlefield into a controlled environment, a deadly chessboard where every pawn moved according to their design. The aliens, numerous as they were unprepared for this combination of cunning, precision, and raw predatory power. As the final push began, the alien commander emerged, a towering figure clad in reinforced armor, armed with advanced weaponry designed to eliminate threats like Aaron. The soldiers paused, aware that the true battle was at hand. Aaron's pulse remained steady, heart matched with Kale's low, threatening rumble. He took a deep breath, recalling every lesson learned, every trap, every ambush that had led them here. This was the culmination, the moment where human strategy and apex power would either triumph or fall. Aaron advanced, leading Kale into a narrow canyon that restricted the commander's movement. He baited the alien forward with feigned vulnerability, forcing it into a position where Kale could strike without risk. The predator's leap was silent and lethal, and in an instant the alien commander found himself facing the combined force of human precision and apex ferocity. Aaron's shots struck in perfect timing with Kale's attacks, destabilizing the armor and shattering confidence. The alien roared, disoriented and overwhelmed, as every expectation of dominance collapsed around him. Finally the commander fell, pinned beneath Kale's immense weight and Aaron's calculated strikes. Silence fell over the valley as the surviving soldiers froze, unable to comprehend what had just transpired. The humans had survived where countless others would have perished. A single man, allied with a predator of mythic proportions, had dismantled a force far larger and better equipped. Aaron exhaled slowly, muscles taut but satisfaction surging through him. Kale's eyes met his, and for a brief moment, they shared understanding, acknowledgement, and unspoken respect. Aaron stepped forward, surveying the battlefield littered with defeated soldiers and shattered confidence. He knew this victory would echo beyond the valley, challenging assumptions across the galaxy. Humans were not fragile. They were adaptable, cunning, and capable of forging alliances that defied comprehension. Kale had chosen him, recognized his intellect and resolve, and together they had rewritten the rules of survival. The Predator was no longer a mere guardian. It was a testament to the human capacity to inspire loyalty and mastery in even the deadliest of creatures. As night fell, Aaron and Kale stood side by side atop the cliff, surveying the valley below. Fires burned in the distance, alien technology smoldering, a testament to their triumph. Aaron allowed himself a small, grim smile, understanding that while the galaxy had yet to fully grasp the potential of humanity, those who had witnessed this day would never forget it. The bond between man and predator had been tested, strengthened, and proven unstoppable. The forest around them seemed to exhale, the wind carrying whispers of survival and dominance. Aaron adjusted his rifle and looked to Kale, knowing that the battles ahead would only grow more complex, more dangerous. Yet he was ready, confident in the knowledge that human ingenuity paired with apex instinct could overcome even the most overwhelming threats. The galaxy might continue to doubt humanity, but Aaron and Kale had proven that humans were unpredictable, formidable, and capable of mastering forces far beyond expectation. Together, they stepped into the shadows of the forest, united, unstoppable, and ready for whatever the universe would throw next. The apex predator had found a human worth its loyalty, and the human had found a partner whose strength, intelligence, and presence transcended fear. Their story, their alliance, and their dominance had only begun, and the galaxy would tremble at the quiet patience of a human and the predator that waited at his side.